Um, Next we have Bill Stewart, who is a political science major, and he's going to be presenting a paper on the current trends and future of China. And if you were here yesterday, this is part of a dual project. Brantley Massey covered some of the revolutions related to China yesterday, and Bill is going to cover the other half of the revolutions. So, Bill?
Thank you, Dr. Owens. Thank you to the symposium for putting this on for us, and thank you for all the visitors here today. My name is Bill Stewart, and I'm going to be discussing current trends in the future of China. Since its recognition into the international community in 1972 by President Nixon, China has emerged as a powerful state on the international stage. In an effort to evaluate how likely it is that China will continue to play a vital role in world affairs, an investigation into how it fares in the context of 4 out of the 7 revolutions that are proposed by the Center for Strategic and International Studies is necessary. This study will focus on Revolution 3, which is technology, Revolution 4, which is information and knowledge, Revolution 5, economics, and Revolution 6, which is security. Based on the study of these areas, it will be possible to come to some conclusions as you work as to what China's future will look like and what its impact on the international community will be. The first revolution I will address is that of technology. This revolution was focused on telecommunications, the internet, and computer technology. Since 1949, China has made great strides in technological innovation, especially in terms of telecommunications. China is now the largest telecommunications nation in the world, with 900 million users out of a possible 1.3 million population. Much of this can be attributed to the large number of multinational corporations that are currently residing in China. As of 2008, China was second only to the United States in terms of the number of internet users, with 210 million Chinese citizens active on the web. China's ability to manufacture items at low cost, their focus on technology, and their push for increased state research and development has put China on a course to become the world leader in technological innovation within the next 20 years. According to one researcher, if you take China's low-cost manufacturing and focus on technology, then combine them with the increasing emphasis on research and development, the result ultimately won't leave much room for other countries, the United States included. Next, I'd like to discuss information and knowledge, which puts an emphasis on education, intellectual property protection, and internet censorship. China has developed a large education system serving over 200 million primary and secondary students. China's primary school enrollment is an astonishing 99%. This drive for education by the regime has led to a literacy rate of 95.1% of Chinese adults, according to the CIA World Factbook. Since 1991, China has made a concerted effort to foster strong patriotic national pride with an education program which they call the Patriotic Education Campaign. It's a program that stresses the emergence of the Chinese Communist Party in 1949 and blames the majority of the problems in China on Western countries, particularly the United States. Intellectual property issues are another big part of info and technology. IP consists of trademarks, patents, copyrights, and trade secrets. China has long been accused by the international community of seeking to further its goals by acquiring intellectual property through unsavory means. The number of suits against the PRC, or the People's Republic of China, and their inclusion into the World Trade Organization in 2001 led them to create a state IP office in order to reduce the claims of illicit Chinese IP infringement. The advent of the internet in China and potential Western influence on Chinese citizens via the web posed a threat to the regime. At first, they sought to completely block information from the West. However, As the number of multinational corporations in the country increased, they realized that excessive censorship could hurt their business relations with these organizations. Therefore, they moved from blocking content to focusing on monitoring internet use by citizens. By creating strict laws concerning internet use and rigid enforcement of these rules, they have put into place an environment of self-censorship amongst the population. Economics. The health of a country's economic state can be observed by focusing on three indicators: the gross domestic product, or GDP, inflation rates, and unemployment rates. GDP is the total monetary value of all goods and services produced domestically by a country. China's GDP is growing at an incredible rate and is on pace to become the world's largest economy in the near future, replacing the United States. China's GDP growth increased from $10.7 trillion in 2010 to $12.61 trillion in 2012. In comparison, the United States GDP only rose from $15.32 trillion in 2010 to $15.9 trillion in 2012, indicating that the United States economy is not growing at the rate that China's economy is. Inflation occurs as a result of increases in the price of goods and services within the country. China has a relatively low inflation rate of 3.1%. The United States inflation rate, by comparison, is 1.5. There's no indication that China poses a threat in this area. Unemployment rates are based on dividing the number of citizens that are seeking a job divided by the active labor force. China has a low employment at 4.1% compared to America's rate of 7.2%. Security of a nation, both internally and externally, has a large impact on the stability of that country. China has had external territorial disputes with its neighbors: India, Taiwan, and Japan. These disputes have intensified more recently with Japan over a series of islands off the Chinese coastline. The PRC military is making an active effort to modernize in order to compete and hopefully one day overtake the might of the United States military. This fact, coupled with the fact that their military, men and women, is composed of 618 million people, makes China a very real threat militarily on the international stage. China joined the United States global war on terror in 2001 by focusing on a domestic terror group in its western province of Uyghur. The ironic thing with their cooperation in our global war on terror is that prior to 2001, Western intelligence assets had never heard of this terror group. Some analysts feel that declaring these insurgents within their borders terrorists, they would be able to garner international support for cracking down on people that don't agree with their policies. Rampant corruption, corruption in the government has been going on since the creation of the PRC in 1949. Bribery and if you're a multinational corporation, the best way to get favorable business contracts is by paying off the local officials. It's becoming a problem more and more for the regime, and actually there are more politicians now who come out against corruption. One thing that they are afraid of is they don't want to go the route of King Louis in France, who was finally overthrown by the people. So I think the Chinese are starting to realize that their heavy-handedness could end up to their regime change. One thing for certain, the corruption in the government has led to increased crime organized crime activities, most notably illegal drugs, especially opium, which comes in from the western border by Afghanistan, which is big for poppies, and human trafficking. Accurate information concerning the crime rates for China are hard to come by because the government is responsible for compiling the crime rates, and so if they actually portrayed the correct crime rates, it could look negatively on them, so they censor the information. But the only information I was able to find is that in 2008, there were 554,000 cases of seriously violent crimes in China. The problem is that they will not define what a seriously violent crime is. So therefore, you have to use the information that you can get. My conclusion is that China is not going anywhere. They're here to stay. The biggest thing that might happen with China is that there might be internal changes within the government and within the country as people are able to access more westernized information and see the implications of uprisings throughout the rest of the world, the Arab Spring in the Middle East, and with the advent of the social media, it's easier for people to communicate and set up flash mobs for organization or protests. So the government might change, but as far as militarily and economically, they are growing at an increased rate, and they have announced their intentions that they would like to overtake the United States as the world's main superpower. Thank you very much.